You are listening to The Sterling Howl and Banana Pajamas, written by D.N. Leo, narrated by Jessica Lee. What happens when you crash tackle the CEO alpha of the most powerful pack in the region while desperately needing his vote to save your company? Vesper's been running for 15 years from a pack that wants her dead. When the past comes hunting, she'll have to decide what's worth fighting for. The life she built in hiding, or the mate who makes her wolf sing even through the suppressant she needs to survive. This is a story about finding love in the most unexpected circumstances, about chosen family that includes enhanced hamsters with opinions, about banana pajamas as a life philosophy, and about discovering that sometimes your soulmate comes with a tiny, furry third wheel who insists on composing haikus about your romantic tension. This is an original story written on demand for you, created specifically for this channel's audience who requested paranormal romances with unique twists, genuine emotion, and talking animals that steal every scene. Want your story idea next? Comment below. D.N. Leo reads every comment, and your engagement, whether liking, commenting, or sharing, is the only way to support this channel and keep these stories coming. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps other readers find their next favorite romance and lets us know what stories you want to hear next. This story has a super happy bonus chapter included. Link in the description below. Now let's head to Chapter 1, The Banana PJ Incident. Chapter 1. The purple smoke curled from the potion bottle like a serpent made of nightmares, bringing with it the sharp bite of ozone and something older. Dust from tombs, maybe, or the aftertaste of broken promise. Vesper's fingers trembled as she held the dropper steady. One drop, just one drop into her daily perfume, and she'd have another 24 hours of invisibility. The glass clinked against glass, a tiny sound that echoed too loud in her penthouse office. 24 hours. The numbers pulsed in her skull like a countdown. No prince waiting at midnight. No glass slipper to prove she belonged. Just the tick-tick-tick of borrowed time and the metallic taste of fear coating her tongue every morning when she wondered if today would be the day her suppressant failed. Her wolf stirred beneath her skin, a restless itch she couldn't scratch. The city sprawled 40 floors below, morning sun painting the glass towers gold. She owned 3 floors of this building, executive suite, R&D labs, marketing. Not the whole tower, not yet, but if the merger went through. Her stomach clenched. The merger had to go through. "Cookie," she called, her voice catching on the dryness in her throat. "Please check the potion." Silence. No scurrying of tiny feet, no dramatic proclamations, just the soft whistle of air through the ventilation system. She pulled open her desk drawer. Cookie, her hamster, lay sprawled on his velvet cushion, tiny chest rising and falling in sleep, his whiskers twitching through what looked like an intense dream. His little paws paddled the air, chasing something, or maybe running from it. Her finger barely grazed his fuzzy cheek. "Darling Cookie, sorry to interrupt your daydream, my little poet, but please check my potion for the day." Cookie's eyes cracked open, unfocused and glassy. He pushed himself up on unsteady paws, blinking slowly. His whiskers drooped like wilted flowers. "You look like fruit," he mumbled, words thick and slurred. "Smell like fruit, might as well be fruit." A banana split of corporate confusion, if you will. The silk of her designer blazer whispered against her skin as she glanced down. Professional from the chest up. But below that, banana print pajama bottoms that her best friend had insisted were ironically chic. The board meeting. 15 minutes. Her pulse kicked up a notch. "I'm heading to the board meeting in 15 minutes with a speech that would make us or break us, Cookie." Cookie's voice came out garbled, his tiny body swaying. In those pajamas, it might be break and break. "Okay, can you please just test the potion?" Cookie's mouth opened, but what came out wasn't quite words. More like poetry having a stroke. "Morning mist and purple smoke, something. I invoke the power of." His whole body listed to one side. "Why can't I think? Can't speak properly, can't be creative, and I can't smell a thing. His tiny nose twitched uselessly. Can't sniff test your potion if my nose is broken. Ice crystallized in her veins. When did you last have your muse, Lolly? Don't know. He rubbed his eyes with both paws. Last night, maybe? Time is a construct. Okay, take another one then. Cookie flopped onto his back, all four paws shooting into the air like a tiny surrender flag. The dramatic thud of his little body hitting the cushion would have been funny if her wolf wasn't starting to pace beneath her skin. I would if I could, but the well has run dry. The candy drawer is barren. The Lolly landscape is desolate. Where's your emergency stash? The silence stretched, broken only by the distant hum of the city below. Cookie, where is your moonburst lolly bag? Well, that's the thing. His voice got smaller. I don't know, my brain is foggy, my memory is Swiss cheese. The memory slammed into her. Last night, conference room, Cookie getting restless during her practice presentation. The purple drawstring bag with the golden moon. Setting it on the table when he'd finally settled down to compose his ode to quarterly projections. Oh no. Her palm pressed against her eyes, the darkness behind her lids spinning. The board meeting, last night's prep session. You were getting restless, so I left it in the conference room. Cookie shot upright, his tiny eyes bulging with betrayal. You left my medicinal lollies in a public space where anyone could just touch them. I'll get them right now. She spun toward the door, her Uggs squeaking against the marble. Cookie scrambled up her blazer, his tiny claws pricking through the silk as he clung to her shoulder. His breath came in short pants against her ear. Vesper, without my lolly, I can't smell properly, but even with my compromised nose, I can tell the suppressant is failing. His whiskers tickled her neck as he turned to look at her. If I can smell hints of wolf, any werewolf in that building will smell it in approximately... She felt him counting on his tiny fingers against her shoulder. 8 minutes and 37 seconds. Her wolf surged, sending heat through her limbs. Don't worry, Cookie. I can run really fast. The elevator crawled downward, each floor marker lighting up with agonizing slowness. 23, 22. Cookie had progressed from frantic warnings to what he called death haikus, his tiny voice vibrating against her collarbone. Lolly's gone away. My nose cannot work at all. We're completely screwed. The elevator dinged. The sound scraped against her sensitive ears. Conference floor. Through the glass doors at the end of the hallway, shadows moved in the boardroom. The morning light caught on someone's watch, sending a flash of gold across the wall. Staff preparing. Fine. She could work with that. Her designer socks whispered against the marble, silent as hunting. The hallway stretched longer than it should, her wolf's perception warping distance and time. Someone had left the door ajar, just a crack, but enough. Through the gap, she could see the polished conference table, and there, like a purple beacon of hope, sat Cookie's bag with its golden moon embroidery catching the light, and there, right beside it, stood a man in a suit. The crinkling sound hit her ears first. Wrapper unfurling. No! Cookie's whisper turned sharp, his claws digging through her blazer. No, 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 that's my moonburst lolly. The man lifted the lolly toward his mouth. The purple candy caught the morning sun, glowing like an amethyst. Don't panic, she breathed, though her wolf was already coiling to spring. We've got the whole bag for you, Cookie. She pushed open the conference door. Time stretched like taffy. The bag lay open on the table, its mouth facing her, and she could see straight to the bottom. Empty, nothing but purple fabric and the lingering scent of artificial grape. The lolly heading toward the stranger's mouth was the last one. Her last hope for suppressant testing, her last chance at keeping her secret through the most important meeting of her career. And he was about to eat it. The lolly touched his lips. Murderer! Cookie's scream pierced the air, loud enough to rattle the windows. Candy thief! Lolly defiler! Vesper's body moved before her brain caught up. Her socks slid on the marble as she launched herself across the conference table. Papers exploded into the air like startled birds. A coffee mug shattered. sending ceramic shards skittering across the floor. The hot splash of coffee hit her leg through the pajama fabric. Her shoulder connected with his stomach, solid muscle beneath expensive wool. The impact knocked the air from both their lungs in a shared whoosh. They went down hard, his back hitting the floor with a sound that made her teeth ache. Her knee landed on his chest, her hands fisting in his lapels before he could recover. The scent hit her then, forests after rain, smoke from distant fires, and underneath it all, the wild musk of alpha wolf. Her wolf sat up and took notice. "Drop it." Gray eyes stared up at her, the color of storm clouds just before lightning strikes. Even flat on his back with her knee crushing his diaphragm, even with his perfect hair mussed and his tie askew, the man was devastating. Sharp cheekbones, a jaw that could cut glass, and lips that— "The lolly," she growled, her wolf bleeding into her voice. "Drop it now." His mouth opened. The candy tumbled out, glistening with saliva, and her hand shot out to catch it before it hit the ground. The wet candy squished slightly between her fingers as she rewrapped it in its crinkled paper, trying not to think about the fact that she was handling a stranger's spit. "It's okay," she whispered to Cookie, who was vibrating with rage on her shoulder. "That's not okay. That's violated. That's contaminated. That man, that lolly-licking corporate vampire, just put his CEO spit all over my emergency supply." Cookie's shriek could have shattered glass. "Ma'am?" A man in charcoal suit stepped into her peripheral vision, his shoes clicking against the marble with military precision. She turned her head, still straddling the lolly thief. "My hamster has a condition and needs medicinal lollies, which your colleague was about to eat. The last one. I'm John, executive assistant at Paxton Industries head office." His voice carried that particular tone of someone trying very hard not to react to insanity. "We're here for the merger meeting." The blood drained from her face, leaving her skin cold. "Sure, that's half an hour away." 15 minutes from now, we arrived early." John cleared his throat delicately. "And we can't really have a meeting if you don't let our CEO go." The word CEO hit her like ice water. She looked down at the man beneath her, really looked. The suit wasn't just expensive, it was bespoke. The watch peeking out from his cuff was a Patek Philippe in those storm-gray eyes. "You're Sterling Paxton?" His lips twitched, just barely, and heat flared low in her belly. "As much as I'm enjoying our current position, I find it a bit awkward to do this in public." She scrambled off him, her socks slipping on the marble. As soon as she stood higher than the table that had been blocking her view, the full disaster revealed itself. The entire board of directors of Paxton Industries filled half the room. At least 20 people in suits that collectively cost more than most people's houses, all staring at her banana pajamas with expressions ranging from shock to barely suppressed laughter. The silence was so complete she could hear her own heartbeat. "Hi," she waved, the gesture awkward and choppy. "Emergency crash landing." She gestured at Sterling, who was pulling himself to his feet with impressive grace for someone who'd just been tackled. "I was so happy seeing him again, I didn't think he'd brought the whole board with him." "Again?" John's eyebrows climbed toward his hairline. Sterling stood, straightening his tie with precise movements, and she caught the exact moment he decided to play along. Something shifted in his eyes, amusement warming the gray like sun through storm clouds. "We agreed not to tell the family until we figured out how," Sterling said, his voice smooth as aged whiskey. "But I guess the cat's out of the bag now." Cookie, still vibrating with indignation on her shoulder, announced at maximum volume, "There's no cat, just a hamster. A traumatized hamster with contaminated candy." "Right." She backed toward the door. "Sterling, darling, could you come upstairs for a moment? We should discuss how to handle this." "Of course." He turned to his board and she caught a whiff of his scent again, wilder now, tinged with something that might have been interest. "Give us 10 minutes." As they walked toward the elevator doors closed with a soft hiss, trapping her in a small metal box with 6 feet of alpha wolf, who smelled like every dangerous dream she'd ever had. Cookie muttered about corporate conspiracies and lolly reparations, but Sterling just stood there, hands in his pockets, looking far too amused for someone who'd just been assaulted over candy. "Thank you," she managed as the floors ticked by, "for playing along. You tackle me for candy while wearing banana pajamas, claim we're together, and I'm supposed to just not be curious?" The elevator dinged. Her floor. She practically ran to her door, Cookie bouncing against her shoulder with each step. "Give me 5 minutes. Make yourself comfortable." She rushed to the bathroom, Cookie's weight familiar on her shoulder. The bathroom lights were too bright, making her reflection look pale and desperate. "Okay, Cookie, moment of truth." She unwrapped the pre-sucked lolly, trying not to grimace at the sticky texture. Cookie took it with shaking paws, gave it a tentative lick, then his whole body sagged with relief. "Oh, thank the candy gods," he sighed, his tiny tongue working over the candy. "My nose is coming back online. Okay, let me test the potion." He leaned toward the bottle, his pink nose twitching rapidly. Each sniff was followed by a thoughtful pause, then another sniff. Finally, he nodded. "It's good, stable, will last 24 hours, but Vesper." His black eyes met hers in the mirror, worry creasing his fuzzy features. "That man out there? He's not just any werewolf. He's an alpha, a real one. The kind that can smell through most suppressants." Her hands shook as she mixed the potion with her perfume Paxton, the familiar gardenia scent unable to mask the underlying bitterness. "It'll be fine." She applied it liberally, the cool mist settling on her skin like a prayer. "Famous last words," Cookie muttered around his lolly. Sterling stood by her floor-to-ceiling windows when she returned, his silhouette dark against the morning light. He turned as her footsteps whispered across the floor and his nostrils flared. Just once, subtle, but she caught it. "Your perfume changed," he said carefully, his voice carrying a note of question. Before panic could claw its way up her throat, Cookie leaped from her shoulder onto the coffee table, landing with a tiny thud and striking a dramatic pose. "Speaking of change, would you like to hear my latest work? Ode to a Defiled Lolly, a Hamster's Lament?" Sterling's phone rang, the sharp trill saving them all from performance poetry. He answered with smooth efficiency, but she watched his expression shift, the amusement softening into something between resignation and genuine warmth. "I see. Yes, Mother, tonight, I understand." The phone clicked off with finality. "The meeting's postponed." He slipped the phone back into his pocket. "My family wants to meet you tonight for dinner." "What?" "Apparently, my mother is thrilled I've been hiding a girlfriend." His lips quirked. "She's already planning the engagement party." Cookie's lolly hit the coffee table with a wet plop. "Engagement?" She sank onto her couch, the leather sighing beneath her weight. "When did I claim we met? What's our story?" Sterling sat across from her, that dangerous amusement dancing in his eyes again. "You tell me. You're the one who started this." "I panicked. I was in banana pajamas." "So our meet cute was banana pajamas?" She buried her face in her hands, the darkness a temporary refuge. "This is a disaster. Look, I'll call them. Tell them I was joking. Having a nervous breakdown. Temporary insanity caused by lack of coffee. Or," Sterling said slowly, his voice dropping into a register that made her wolf perk up, "we keep it for tonight, one dinner. See how it goes, then decide." She peeked at him through her fingers. "Why would you do that?" "Because a woman who tackles me for hamster candy while wearing banana pajamas is the most interesting thing that's happened to me in years." He stood, his movement fluid and predatory. "Pick you up at 7? Cookie, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly piped up. "Make it 7:30. She needs time to find appropriate dinner clothes. The banana pajamas are a no-go." Sterling laughed. Not the polite chuckle of business meetings, but a real laugh that rumbled from his chest and made something warm unfurl in her stomach. 7:30 then. And Cookie? He looked directly at the hamster. "I'll bring you a fresh bag of Moonburst lollies. The fancy kind from that specialty shop downtown." Cookie clutched his chest dramatically. "I take back 1/3 of the mean things I said about you. After Sterling left, the door clicking shut with quiet finality, Vesper stared at the closed door while Cookie continued working his contaminated lolly with tiny slurping sounds. What just happened? Cookie paused mid-lick, considering. I believe, my dear Vesper, you just accidentally acquired a fake boyfriend who happens to be the most eligible alpha in the city. And his spit makes my lolly taste like mint and power. He took another thoughtful lick. This is definitely going in my poetry collection. Cookie. Also, your suppressant won't fool him for long. He already noticed the change. Cookie shook his tiny head, his whiskers drooping with concern. Alphas like him? He'll figure it out. The question is whether he'll care. She flopped back on the couch, the leather cool against her heated skin. How is this my life? Karma, Cookie said philosophically, his tiny tongue working over the lolly. That's what you get for leaving my medicinal lollies in public spaces. Now help me compose. There once was a hamster named Cookie whose lolly was stolen by a rookie. That doesn't even make sense. I'm still recovering from trauma. My poetry will improve with more lollies. His black eyes gleamed with mischief. Speaking of which, he better bring the jumbo bag. The morning sun climbed higher, painting golden stripes across her office floor, and somewhere in the building below, Sterling Paxton was probably explaining to his board why his girlfriend had just attacked him in banana pajamas. Her wolf stirred again, not with fear this time, but with something far more dangerous. Interest. Chapter 2. The elevator descended in smooth silence, but Sterling's wolf was anything but quiet. It paced beneath his skin, restless and intrigued, still processing the weight of the woman who'd pinned him to the conference room floor. The scent of gardenias clung to his suit jacket, sharp, artificial, and underneath it, something else. Something that made his wolf sit up and pay attention before she disappeared to change her perfume. The elevator dinged. Conference floor. John waited by the glass doors, his expression carefully neutral, in that way that meant he was dying to say something. Sterling had known his assistant long enough to recognize barely suppressed amusement when he saw it. Not one word, Sterling said, stepping out of the elevator. I wasn't going to say anything. John fell into step beside him, their footsteps echoing in the hallway. Though I have to admit, being taken down by a woman in banana pajamas is definitely a first for Paxton Industries merger meetings. Sterling's lips twitched despite himself. She was protecting her hamster's medicinal candy. Of course she was. John's voice was perfectly serious, which made it worse. Completely reasonable response. I tackle people for candy all the time. They pushed through the conference room doors. The board had recovered their composure, mostly, though Richards was still trying to hide a grin behind his coffee cup. The shattered mug had been cleaned up, but papers were still scattered across the floor like casualties of war. Shall we discuss the merger terms while we wait? Suggested CFO Margaret Chen, ever practical. The meeting's postponed until tomorrow, Sterling announced, straightening his tie. The silk still held the warmth of Vesper's hands. Family matter came up. 20 pairs of eyebrows rose in unison. The young lady, Richard ventured, is she really? Yes. The word came out sharper than intended. Sterling's wolf was oddly protective of the lie, or maybe of the woman herself. We've been keeping it private. The room erupted in congratulations and questions. Sterling endured it for exactly 3 minutes before escaping to the hallway with John. They walked toward Sterling's office in the building's east wing. Paxton Industries kept a satellite space in most major buildings they did business with. John waited until they were alone in the private elevator before speaking. Your mother's already called 3 times. Sterling groaned, pinching the bridge of his nose. Of course she has. She's ecstatic. Already mentioned something about finally getting grandchildren before she's too old to enjoy them. John paused. She also said, and I quote, "At least one of my sons isn't a complete disappointment in the romance department. Pete's going to love that. Your brother has already texted 17 times. Would you like me to read them?" God, no. The elevator opened to his office, all glass and chrome, Spectacular view of the city, completely impersonal. Sterling had offices like this in 12 cities. They all looked the same. They all felt the same. Empty. He loosened his tie and walked to the windows. 70 floors up, the city looked manageable, organized. Not the chaos it actually was. Not the chaos that had just crashed into his life wearing banana pajamas. "You haven't dated anyone seriously in 5 years," John said quietly, settling into his usual chair. "Not since—" "I know how long it's been. 5 years since the last woman his family had pushed on him. 5 years since he decided that if he couldn't have a real mate, the kind his wolf would recognize, the kind that would make his soul sing, then he wouldn't pretend. The council could threaten to remove his alpha status all they wanted. His parents could guilt him about grandchildren until they were blue in the face. Pete could carry on the family line. Sterling had made peace with being alone, until a woman in banana pajamas had tackled him for candy and his wolf had suddenly woken up. "The council meets next month," John reminded him unnecessarily. "They've made it clear that an unmated alpha past 30 is problematic." Sterling turned from the window. "Then they can find another alpha." "You don't mean that." "Don't I?" But even as he said it, Sterling knew it was a lie. The pack was his responsibility, his burden, his purpose. 300 wolves looking to him for leadership, for protection, for stability. He wouldn't abandon them, even if the council tried to force him out. "This woman," John said carefully, studying his tablet with unusual intensity, "Vesper Cantrell, CEO of Lunar Lux Cosmetics. She's brilliant, according to her file. Built her company from nothing. Revolutionary formulas, exceptional business acumen. And she's wearing enough suppressant to hide a small army and—" John looked up. "I could smell it from across the room. That level of chemical masking. There are reasons people do that." Sterling's jaw tightened. He'd noticed it too. The moment she'd come back from the bathroom, the artificial gardenia scent had been overwhelming. Whatever she'd been wearing before had been subtle, expensive, carefully crafted. What she'd doused herself in afterward was panic in a bottle. "She's hiding something," John continued. "Could be trauma. Could be running from something. Could be none of our business." John set down his tablet. "You're actually considering this. The fake relationship." Sterling didn't answer immediately. His wolf was pacing again, restless and curious. The woman, Vesper, had intrigued him even before she'd body-slammed him over candy. The way she'd moved, predatory grace despite the ridiculous pajamas, the flash of fear in her eyes when she'd realized who he was, the way her hamster had defended her like a tiny, dramatic knight. "Does she feel real?" John asked quietly. "Your wolf, does it react to her?" That was the question, wasn't it? Sterling's wolf had been dormant for so long he'd almost forgotten what it felt like to have it truly interested in someone. But when Vesper had pinned him, when her weight had settled on his chest and her hands had gripped his lapels, his wolf had done more than wake up. It had recognized something. "I'm not sure," he admitted. "The suppressant makes it impossible to tell what she really is, but my wolf wants to find out." John leaned back in his chair, processing this. "Your mother's already planning the wedding. She called the country club to check venue availability." "Of course she did." "And your father wants to know if Vesper comes from good breeding stock." John made air quotes, his disgust evident. His words, not mine. Sterling's wolf growled at that. The idea of his father judging Vesper like some kind of breeding mare made his teeth ache with the need to shift. "She's different," Sterling said finally. "Not just the banana pajamas or the attack over candy. There's something about her that doesn't fit the usual patterns." "You mean she didn't throw herself at you the moment she found out who you were?" That earned a genuine laugh. She looked horrified, actually, like I'd ruined her entire day by existing. "Refreshing. Incredibly." John S. phone buzzed. He glanced at it and winced. "Your mother again. She wants to know if Vesper has any dietary restrictions for tonight's dinner." Sterling walked back to his desk, slumping into his chair. The leather still held the faint scent of gardenias from where his jacket had brushed it. This is insane. I should call it off now. Should you? He looked at his assistant, his friend, the one person who'd been with him through every failed relationship, every counsel threat, every family disappointment. You think I should go through with it? I think, John said carefully, that you've been sleepwalking through life for 5 years. I think you've convinced yourself that duty is enough, that the pack is enough, that being alone is noble somehow. And I think a woman who tackles you for hamster candy while wearing banana pajamas might be exactly the chaos you need. Sterling's phone lit up with a text from Pete. Heard you got attacked by a banana and fell in love. Mom's crying happy tears. Dad's checking her company's stock value. I'm taking bets on how long before you screw this up. Another text followed immediately. Also, she's hot. Just looked her up. How the hell did you land a CEO who looks like that? Then, Mom wants to know if she should invite the Hendersons to dinner. Please say no. Sterling set the phone aside without responding. The suppressant bothers me. Because you can't smell what she really is? Because she's that afraid of being discovered. He stood, pacing to the window again. What could make someone that desperate to hide? John was quiet for a moment. Could be she's Omega. They're rare enough that most packs would fight to claim her. Could be she's something else entirely. Could be she's exactly what she appears to be, human, wearing suppressant because she works with shifters and doesn't want to deal with the politics. But Sterling didn't think she was human. The way she'd moved, the flash of something wild in her eyes when she'd demanded he drop the candy. His wolf had recognized a kindred spirit, even through all that chemical masking. Tonight's dinner will be a disaster, Sterling said. Undoubtedly. My family will terrorize her. Without question. She might run screaming before the appetizers. Possibly. And I'm still going to do it. John smiled, the expression knowing. I'll clear your schedule for tomorrow. Something tells me you'll need time to do damage control. Sterling's phone rang. His mother. He let it go to voicemail. Sir? John stood, gathering his tablet. For what it's worth, I don't think she's wearing suppressant because she's afraid of being discovered. I think she's wearing it because she's already been hurt by someone who did discover her. There's a difference. The words hung in the air after John left. Sterling stood at his window, looking up toward the penthouse floors, where Vesper was probably panicking about tonight. His wolf stirred, protective instincts flaring at the thought of someone hurting her. Which was ridiculous. He'd known her for less than an hour. She'd attacked him over candy. She was wearing enough suppressant to burn his nose. She had a dramatically poetic hamster. And none of that mattered to his wolf, which was already counting the hours until 7:30. His phone buzzed. Another text from Pete. Mom's invited the Hendersons and the Weatherbees and half the country club. This is officially an event now. Good luck, brother. Sterling groaned and let his forehead thunk against the cool glass of the window. Somewhere above him, a woman in banana pajamas was about to walk into the social equivalent of a shark tank, and he was the one holding the chum bucket. His wolf didn't care. It was too busy wondering what she really smelled like beneath all that gardenia and fear. Tonight was going to be a complete disaster. He couldn't wait. The city hummed below, oblivious to the chaos about to unfold in the Paxton family dining room. Sterling watched a flock of pigeons wheel past his window, free and uncomplicated, and wondered if Vesper was watching them too from her penthouse perch. His phone rang again, this time his father. Sterling answered on the third ring, already bracing himself. Son. The word carried 40 years of expectation. Your mother tells me you've been hiding a relationship. It's recent. Recent enough that you're bringing her to dinner. Must be serious. Sterling didn't correct him. The Lunar Lux merger is important to our expansion plans, his father continued. I assume this, relationship, won't complicate negotiations. It won't. Good. See that it doesn't. And Sterling, your mother's invited half of society. Try not to embarrass the family. The line went dead. Sterling stared at his phone, his wolf snarling at the casual dismissal. 32 years old, alpha of 300 wolves, CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, and his father still treated him like a disappointment waiting to happen. His phone buzzed one more time. This text was from an unknown number. Cookie demands to know what kind of fancy lollies you're bringing. He's composing anxiety haikus and needs specifics for accuracy. Also, what's the dress code? Asking for a friend who definitely doesn't own banana pajamas formal wear. Vesper found himself smiling, his wolf settling for the first time all day. He typed back, "Cocktail attire. Tell Cookie I'm bringing 3 flavors including the limited edition moonberry. Also, your banana pajamas were perfect. My dignity may never recover." 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, Cookie says you're officially promoted from lolly defiler to temporarily acceptable candy provider. This is high praise. Don't let it go to your head. Another message. Fair warning. I'm bringing Cookie tonight. He insists he's my emotional support hamster and threatens to compose protest sonnets if left behind. Sterling laughed, earning a strange look from a passing janitor. He typed, "My family will either be charmed or horrified. Possibly both." Perfect. Cookie lives for dramatic reactions. See you at 7:30. Try not to eat any more medicinal candy before then. The conversation ended there, but Sterling found himself staring at the messages, reading them again. She was nervous, but trying to hide it behind humor, just like he was. His wolf approved. Tonight would either be the beginning of something incredible or the disaster to end all disasters. Sterling was betting on both. Chapter 3. The Paxton estate sprawled across 3 manicured acres, all stone and glass and old money trying to look new. Vesper's hired car crunched up the circular drive, past fountains lit gold in the evening light, and her wolf pressed against her skin like it was trying to escape through her pores. "This is excessive," Cookie announced from his custom carrier, a designer bag with mesh windows that she'd panic bought 3 hours ago. The fountain has a fountain. That's architecturally redundant and emotionally overwhelming. "Please behave tonight," she whispered, smoothing her cocktail dress for the 100th time. Black silk, conservative enough for meeting parents, with a neckline that didn't scream, "I attacked your son over candy." These people could destroy my company with a phone call. Cookie's nose was already working before the car stopped, his whiskers twitching frantically as he processed the emotional landscape. "Okay, preliminary report," he announced, pressing against the mesh. 7 people inside. Someone's having an anxiety attack. No, wait, that's just anticipation. Sexual anticipation. EW. Someone wants to jump someone else's bones and, oh my God, it's about you. Cookie, you shouldn't play emotions detective tonight. Just keep watch. I'll be fine. You don't smell fine. Your anxiety feels like a thunderstorm trapped in a perfume bottle. How many moonburst lollies have you eaten? In which time window? Cookie. All right, only 2. Fine. In the last half hour. His whiskers drooped slightly. But I understand your concern. I will refrain from commenting on everyone's emotions toward you. Only focus on important ones. So, if we get this business deal through, can I be a poet full time? Only work on the emotions and scents, detective when I want, and only on nice smells. Absolutely, Cookie. I'll build you your own publishing house. You'll publish your poems to your heart's content. It didn't matter that he wouldn't have any audience for his poetry, but she couldn't tell him that. He was too precious to her to get his feelings hurt. Cookie's nose twitched. "You're plotting a kind lie to me, Vesper." "No, I'm not. Stop being a worrywart. I'm a poet and life is poetry, Vesper, with you in it." His tiny paw pressed against the mesh, reaching for her. "So stay safe tonight and do not get eaten by big bad wolves." She smiled at him and kissed his little furry head through the carrier opening. The familiar scent of him, lollies and sawdust and home, steadied her nerves. "Thank you." The front door flew open. Sterling stood there in charcoal gray, and Cookie's nose went into overdrive. "Nervous," he announced at top volume. "He's so nervous he's sweating through expensive cologne. Vesper, he changed his shirt recently. I can smell the fresh laundry and desperation." Sterling's eyes widened. Is Cookie a psychic? No, that's a term used when people don't know how to describe talent. Cookie puffed up proudly. I'm a poet at heart and an emotions and scent detector by day. He's right, he's here to keep watch and give me emotional support. He won't interfere with people's conversations. Will you, Cookie? Vesper reached out for Sterling's hand, his warmth immediately calming her racing pulse. Standing on her shoulder now, Cookie saluted with military precision. Yes, Vesper, I'll only speak upon request and will whisper my detective results to you only. I'll not shout across the room when someone gets excited looking down the neckline dress of someone else, and certain body parts get inappropriate reactions. Cookie, Vesper and Sterling said in unison, their synchronized horror making them sound like parents scolding a child. Understood. Shutting up now. A silver-haired woman shoved past Sterling, her face glowing with excitement. You're Vesper, the banana pajama girl. Cookie unzipped the mesh, went through the tiny windows and raced to Vesper's shoulder. Cookie's whiskers vibrated with effort as he tried not to speak, then burst out, maternal instincts going crazy. She wants to adopt you. Literally. She's already planning your room. Sterling, your mother is emotionally unhinged in the best way. Catherine pulled Vesper into a crushing hug that smelled of expensive perfume and genuine warmth, then noticed Cookie. Oh my God, it talks. Yes, ma'am, I'm a poet and sense detective for Lunar Lux Cosmetics. Cookie stood tall, all 3 inches of him. I'm Vesper's emotional support hamster / bodyguard / threat detection system. I've kept her alive for 5 years, 4 months, and 17 days. Cookie, Vesper hissed. What? It's true. Remember the Portland incident? I smelled that stalker from 3 blocks away. And the Vegas situation? I knew that business partner was lying before he even opened his mouth. Catherine's eyes lit up with delight. How wonderful. Can you tell what I'm feeling now, Cookie? Cookie's nose worked furiously. You're feeling contented. Happy that your son finally considers a lady you approve of. And you approved of Vesper the moment you heard about the banana tackle. Cookie, Vesper warned. She asked me, that's a request to speak. You can tell all that by just a look? You're so talented, Cookie. Come on in. They entered a living room full of people, the weight of 20 pairs of eyes making Vesper's skin prickle. Cookie went absolutely still, his tiny body rigid as he processed the emotional minefield. He whispered into her ear, his breath tickling. Okay, threat assessment. Man by the window, that's Pete. I smell sibling rivalry, but also genuine affection. Safe. Blonde woman wants to judge you, but she's insecure. Minimal threat. Man in the Armani suit. Cookie's nose wrinkled in disgust. Emotional constipation and control issues. That's Daddy Dearest, right? He's calculating your net worth. Typical. The room went silent, the kind of quiet that made every heartbeat audible. An elderly woman smiled slowly from her wingback chair. Come, meet my Grandma Rose. Sterling's hand found the small of Vesper's back, guiding her through the social minefield. Cookie's nose pointed at Rose like a tiny compass finding true north. Hold up, hold up! He practically vibrated with shock. She knows. Elderly lady knows what you are. But she doesn't smell like threat. She smells like. He sniffed deeper, processing. Protection, understanding. Vesper, she's safe. She's actually safe. For the first time in 5 years, Cookie had declared someone who knew her secret as safe. Come here, little guardian, Rose said, patting her lap. Cookie looked at Vesper for permission. She nodded, throat tight, and he scampered over, climbing onto Rose's chair with unusual gentleness. You've been protecting her a long time, Rose said softly, her fingers barely touching Cookie's tiny head, since the day she saved me from that lab. Cookie's voice lost its comic edge, becoming something raw and honest. They were testing enhancement formulas, made me like this. She broke me out, lost her job, nearly got arrested. So yeah, I protect her. It's my job. He suddenly spun toward the room, fierce despite his size. I once bit a CEO who was planning to steal her formulas. He needed 17 stitches. It was 3 stitches, Vesper corrected, warmth spreading through her chest at the memory. I have small teeth. I did my best. Pete burst out laughing, the sound breaking the tension. He's like a tiny furry lie detector. Speaking of lies, Cookie's nose pointed at Pete like an accusation. You're pretending you're not in love with someone, but it's radiating off you like sad cologne. Pete's laughter cut off abruptly.
What? Cookie! Vesper hissed. He requested, and it's good for him to get it out of his system, or he'll get emotional constipation.
Enough, Vesper warned, though she was fighting a smile. Shutting up now. Any more requests? I'll charge premium prices. Dinner! Catherine announced desperately, herding everyone toward the dining room. At the table, Cookie stationed himself in his carrier like a tiny sentry, constantly scanning for threats. When Margaret leaned forward to ask about Vesper's family, Cookie accidentally knocked over a water glass with his tail, creating a perfect diversion as everyone scrambled for napkins. The meal passed in a blur of Sterling's protective touches, Cookie's strategic interruptions, and Rose's knowing smiles. For the first time in 15 years, Vesper felt something dangerous. She felt safe. As dessert plates were being cleared, Arthur stood, tapping his wine glass for attention. The crystal rang like a warning bell. As you all know, he began, his voice carrying the weight of tradition, next week we travel to Alaska for the Howling Moon ceremony to honor Elder Magnus on his 100th birthday. Murmurs of approval rippled through the room. Vesper felt Sterling tense beside her, his wolf stirring beneath his skin. It's a significant tradition, Arthur continued, his eyes finding Vesper with laser focus. For the pack, for our family. Sterling, you'll bring Vesper, of course, as your mate. The word mate hit the room like a grenade. Sterling's hand found hers under the table, squeezing gently. A warning, an apology, a promise all at once. Vesper began. Her phone buzzed. Then buzzed again, insistent, demanding. Excuse me, she managed, her voice barely steady. I need to. Take your time, Sterling said quietly. As she stood, he caught her hand, his voice dropping low enough that only she could hear. You don't have to do anything you don't want to. The business proposal is good, and I'll make sure it goes through whether or not this, he gestured between them, becomes something. The sincerity in his storm-gray eyes made her wolf whine with longing. She squeezed his hand once before escaping to the foyer. The text was from an unknown number. Outside. Now, don't make me come in. Her blood turned to ice water. That phrasing, that tone, she knew it like a nightmare she couldn't forget. The October air bit at her skin as she stepped outside. A man stood by the fountain. Average height, forgettable face, the kind of person who could disappear in any crowd. But his eyes were predator cold, ancient with the weight of pack law. Vesper Cantrell, he said, each syllable deliberate. Or should I say Vesper Dragomir? Her knees almost buckled. The name she hadn't heard in 15 years hit her like a physical blow. Who are you? Name's Len, private investigator. He pulled out a card, flicking it toward her with practiced ease. The Dragomir pack hired me to find their lost princess. I'm not the daughter who ran the night her father was executed, the girl whose mother died helping her escape. His smile was cold as winter moonlight. Yeah, you are. My father was innocent. The words ripped from her throat, raw and bleeding after years of silence. Doesn't matter. He was convicted of treason against the pack. Sentence was execution of the entire bloodline. Len shrugged, casual about genocide. Your mother bought you time. 15 years to be exact, but that time's up. My mother made me promise never to go back, not even for revenge. Smart woman. Revenge would have gotten you killed faster. He smiled. This is just a courtesy, heads up. The formal summons will be delivered maybe tomorrow. After that, you've got 3 days to report to the Dragomir compound for trial. Trial for what? I was 17. I ran because my mother begged me to. Trial for evading pack justice. For the shame you brought on the pack by surviving. His smile widened, showing too many teeth. They've already decided the verdict. This is just ceremony. Then why warn me? Professional courtesy, plus your boy in there. Sterling Paxton's got a reputation. Figured you might want to decide if you're dragging him into your mess or cutting him loose. He turned to go, then paused. Your mother died believing she saved you. Would be a shame if her sacrifice meant nothing. He melted into the shadows, leaving Vesper shaking by the fountain. The envelope felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds, like it contained the ashes of everything she'd built. Inside, she could hear laughter, Cookie performing another poem, the warm bubble of family she'd never have. Her mother's voice echoed in her memory, clear as the night she died. Run, my darling. Live. Promise me you'll never come back, not even for vengeance. Promise me you'll survive. She walked back inside on unsteady legs. The dining room fell silent, everyone sensing the shift in her energy. Vesper? Sterling was already standing, his wolf alert to her distress. What's wrong? She looked at him, this beautiful, protective man who'd covered for her all evening. She thought about Len's words, about dragging Sterling into her mess. But she also thought about her mother's sacrifice, about 15 years of running, about being so tired of being alone that death almost seemed preferable. The Alaska trip, she heard herself say, the words coming from somewhere deeper than thought. When do we leave? Sterling's eyebrows rose in surprise. 3 days. The same day the summons would come. The same day her countdown to death would officially begin. I'd love to come, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. If the invitation stands. Of course it stands, Sterling said, though his eyes searched hers for answers she couldn't give. Cookie piped up, sensing the need for distraction. Does Alaska have fancy candy stores? Also, can I perform at the ceremony? I have a piece about elder wolves that's very moving. No one wants to hear your poetry in Alaska, Cookie, Vesper said automatically, falling into their familiar rhythm. Excuse me? My poetry transcends geography. It's universal. It's terrible, Pete laughed. Beautifully terrible. I'm adding you to my revenge poem, Cookie announced with dignity. It's called Pete the Neat Freak Who Can't Even. It doesn't rhyme yet, but I'm working on it. The room dissolved into laughter, but Sterling's eyes never left hers. He knew something was wrong. He knew she was running. But for tonight, just tonight, she let herself pretend this was real, that she belonged here, that her mother's sacrifice had bought her not just time, but this, a chance at family, at love, at home, even if it would all shatter in 3 days' time. One more poem, Cookie demanded. This one's called Why Hamsters Deserve First-Class Seats on Airplanes. It's a philosophical exploration with comedic undertones. Please, no, everyone groaned in unison. But Cookie was already launching into his performance, and Vesper let his ridiculous words wash over her, storing up this warmth against the cold she knew was coming. 3 days until the summons. 3 days until Alaska. 3 days to decide if she would keep running or finally face the ghost her mother died to help her escape. Chapter 4. The conference room smelled like fear and expensive coffee, bitter notes of anxiety mixed with French roast. Vesper stood at the head of the table, her laser pointer steady despite the tremor in her chest. 10 board members from Paxton Industries sat before her like a firing squad in Armani suits, their skepticism thick as morning fog. The Southeast Asian market represents a 40% growth opportunity, she said, clicking to the next slide. The projector hummed, casting blue light across hostile faces. Lunar Lux's established distribution channels would give Paxton Industries immediate access to— We've heard this before, interrupted Harold Weatherby, his jowls quivering with impatience. What makes your company worth a $40 million investment? Cookie, hidden in her jacket pocket, pressed his tiny nose against her ribs. His whiskers tickled through the silk as he whispered, He's already decided to vote no. He smells like closed doors and old grudges. Also, he's thinking about his mistress. Gross. She wears too much jasmine. Vesper's fingers found her pocket, giving Cookie a gentle squeeze, their signal to wait. Sterling sat at the opposite end of the table, tension radiating from every line of his body. His fingers drummed against the mahogany. Once, twice, stop. The sound echoed in the silent room. He needed 6 votes out of 10. They had Catherine and Rose for certain. Pete would follow Sterling's lead. That left 7 board members to convince, and they needed at least 3 more. "Mr. Weatherby," Vesper said smoothly, letting a smile play at her lips, "I understand your concern. Perhaps these numbers will help." She paused, as if considering. "In addition, we have a satellite warehouse that sells limited edition lines. This can be run by your associates or anyone you want to reward, but remain discreet with key stakeholders. You can set them up there." Her eyes met his meaningfully. "We understand that sometimes we need to be flexible when it comes to allies and relationships that aren't quite black and white." Weatherby's pupils dilated. His mistress needed a job. Cookie had smelled the desperation on him for weeks. Sterling's eyebrow lifted a fraction. Surprise or approval, she couldn't tell. But his lips quirked slightly and warmth spread through her chest. Weatherby straightened his tie, suddenly interested. "That's thoughtful." She clicked to a slide showing Lunar Lux's patent portfolio. Cookie's nose twitched frantically, processing the room's emotional weather. Woman in red, Margaret. She's interested but scared. Man with the ugly tie is calculating his stock options. Guy next to Sterling wants to impress him. Daddy issues alert. Smells like desperate approval-seeking and mint gum. Margaret Chen leaned forward, her pearls clicking against the table like worry beads. "These formulations are impressive, but how do we know they'll translate to mass-market appeal?" Cookie vibrated against Vesper's ribs. "She's lying. She doesn't care about mass market. She's worried about her position if the merger goes through. She thinks you'll replace her." Vesper pulled out a small velvet box from her briefcase, the fabric soft as sin against her fingers. "I brought samples of our newest line." She opened the box with theatrical precision, revealing tiny crystal vials that caught the light like trapped stars. "This one makes people feel confident. We call it Boardroom Warrior. This one triggers nostalgia, specifically Christmas mornings, sugar cookies, and safety. And this one," she held up a vial of clear liquid, "makes people more inclined to tell the truth." "That's ridiculous," scoffed James Morrison, the board's most senior member. His mustache bristled with indignation. "Is it?" She tilted her head, letting vulnerability creep into her voice. "Do you mean the nostalgia scent is ridiculous, or the truth scent?" Cookie whispered urgently. "He's scared of being irrelevant. He doesn't understand technology. His granddaughter tried to explain TikTok and he cried. Also, he's wearing 2 different socks, one black, one navy." Morrison grunted, neither agreeing nor disagreeing, his face reddening. Vesper's smile gentled. "We have other scents, such as weekend mood boost or morning mind cleanse. The latter gives you the benefits of Zen morning meditation without having to meditate. With your head and mind clear, your energy recharged, you're ready for the day and won't accidentally wear different socks." She paused, eyes twinkling. "Unless that's a new fashion trend I'm not aware of." Morrison looked down at his feet. His face went from red to white in seconds. "Does it give me the pick-me-up effect?" Margaret asked, leaning forward with genuine interest now. "Absolutely." Vesper let Cookie crawl out of her pocket onto the table. Several board members gasped. "But imagine having this technology in Paxton's beauty division. Personalized fragrances that adapt to body chemistry and emotional states. We're not just selling cosmetics, we're selling emotional experiences." Cookie whispered, "Richard Blackstone, Sterling's CFO, he wants to vote yes but worried about the quarterlies. He has a daughter, teenager. She uses our products. She hugged him this morning. I can smell the hope on his jacket mixed with her perfume." Vesper met Richard's eyes. "I have a feeling you're concerned about the quarterlies, Mr. Blackstone." She inhaled delicately. "I can smell Lunar Lux's Moonlight Serenade on your jacket. A young person in your house hugged you this morning. Your daughter?" Richard's stern expression cracked. "How could you possibly? She has excellent taste. That scent reflects personality and pride in family tradition." Vesper's voice softened. She's proud of you and your work. She wants you to be part of something that makes people feel beautiful. The emotional temperature in the room shifted like weather breaking. Sterling leaned forward, his gray eyes tracking between Vesper and Cookie with something that looked dangerously like awe. His wolf was practically purring. She could feel it from across the room. The numbers support the merger, Richard said slowly, his voice thick. The synergies are undeniable. Pete cleared his throat. I vote yes. The merger makes sense. Plus the hamster's entertaining. Catherine raised her hand, beaming. Yes. Rose tapped her cane against the floor with satisfaction. Obviously, yes. Anyone who can weaponize a hamster deserves our investment. The votes came faster now. Richard, yes. 2 junior members who'd been silent, both yes. They had 5. They needed 1 more. Cookie suddenly went rigid, every hair standing on end. His nose pointed toward the door like a tiny compass finding true disaster. Someone's coming. They smell like legal documents and old blood, and his eyes went wide as saucers. Vesper, it's another one, like last night. Death and law and hunting. The door opened with a soft click that sounded like a gunshot. A courier entered, nondescript except for his eyes, which were wolf-cold and knowing. His gaze swept the room until it landed on Vesper like a sniper finding his target. Vesper Cantrell? Her blood turned to ice water in her veins. Yes? Sorry to intrude. I can't leave this with an assistant. His smile was all teeth. Urgent message. Please sign here. Her hand shook as she signed, the pen slipping twice. The envelope was thick as a tombstone, official, sealed with black wax. The Dragomir crest pressed into it like a wound, a wolf howling at a blood moon. Cookie raced up her arm, his claws pricking through silk as he reached her shoulder. His whole body trembled against her neck. Don't open it here, he whispered, his breath hot with panic. It smells like endings. It's like your mother's last words. Like running out of time. Sterling was already standing, his chair scraping against marble. We'll take a 15-minute recess. But we haven't finished voting, Weatherby protested. Recess. Sterling's alpha tone bled through, making the windows rattle. The room emptied like someone had pulled a fire alarm. Except for Sterling. He approached slowly, carefully, like she was a wounded animal that might bolt. His scent wrapped around her, pine and protection, and barely leashed violence. Vesper. She stared at the envelope, its weight pulling her down toward the center of the earth. Inside was her death sentence, delivered to her workplace like a pizza, like her execution was just another Tuesday delivery. It's nothing. Cookie snorted so hard he almost fell off her shoulder. Nothing doesn't smell like goodbye. Nothing doesn't make your heart rate sound like a hummingbird having a panic attack. He turned to Sterling, decision made. She needs... Cookie, don't, Vesper warned, but her voice cracked. Cookie had already launched himself at Sterling's shoulder, landing with surprising grace. Listen up, wolf boy. I'm going to give you some free emotional consulting, and if you don't act on what your wolf is screaming, you get 6 months of my poetry. Daily. Hourly if necessary. Cookie? Vesper's voice pitched high with panic, but Cookie ignored her, his tiny paws gripping Sterling's collar like a lifeline. His code of conduct, rule number 1, keep her safe. If he detected danger, that trumped everything, even her direct orders. Cookie pressed close to Sterling's ear. She smells like goodbye, like she's already leaving. Like she's memorizing your face because she thinks she'll never see it again. His voice broke. Your wolf knows. It's been trying to tell you since dinner last night. It wants to claim her, protect her, kill whatever's threatening her. Sterling's eyes never left Vesper's face, and she saw the moment his control started cracking. What does the letter say? I haven't opened it. But you know what it is. She nodded, her throat closing like a fist. Cookie tugged on Sterling's ear hard enough to make him wince. Your wolf wants to protect her. It wants to tear apart whoever sent that letter. It wants to claim her and keep her safe, and you're just standing there like a corporate statue while she dies inside. It's not that simple, Sterling started. It is that simple, Cookie was screaming now, his tiny voice cracking with desperation. She's in danger. You can smell it even through her suppressant. Death and fear and 15 years of running ending badly. And if you don't act on what your wolf really wants right now, if you let her walk out of here alone, I will follow you for 6 months reciting my poetry. Every single day. Sterling's eyes widened in genuine horror. You wouldn't. Try me. Cookie's whiskers bristled with determination. I have a 12-part epic about spreadsheets. It doesn't rhyme. Each part is an hour long, and I perform it with interpretive dance. The door burst open. Margaret Chen stuck her head in, oblivious to the emotional hurricane in the room. We need to finish the vote. I have another meeting. Vesper straightened, shoving the envelope into her briefcase where it burned like a coal. Of course, let's continue. She walked back to her place at the head of the table, Cookie riding her shoulder like a tiny, furious guardian. Sterling returned to his seat, but his wolf was pacing now. She could feel it prowling the edges of the room, looking for threats, looking for her. Before we vote, Vesper said, her voice steady despite the summons eating through her bag like acid. I want you to understand something. Lunar Lux isn't just a company to me. It's proof that someone who started with nothing, no family, no connections, no safety net, can build something beautiful. The room went cemetery quiet. Sterling's hands clenched on the table, his knuckles white. I built this company, she continued, each word carved from stone, because I believe everyone deserves to feel powerful, to feel beautiful, to feel like they belong somewhere, even if it's just for the moment they wear our perfume, even if they're running, even if they're scared, even if they think they don't deserve beautiful things. Margaret Chen cleared her throat, her eyes suspiciously bright. I vote yes. 6 votes. They had it. The room erupted in congratulations that sounded like static in her ears. The envelope burned in her bag. 2 weeks. That's all the summons would give her. 2 weeks to report for execution. Celebration dinner, Catherine announced from the doorway. Everyone's invited. I'm ordering everything on the menu. I need to, Vesper started. Sterling was suddenly beside her, his hand warm on her elbow, grounding her to earth. You need to tell me what's in that envelope. Cookie jumped back to Sterling's shoulder. She won't. She's too used to being alone. But her wolf, he sniffed deeply, professionally. Her wolf wants to trust you. It's been screaming at her since last night. It recognizes you as pack, as mate, as home. Cookie, stop. No! His tiny body shook with emotion. I've kept you safe for 5 years, 4 months and 18 days, but I can't protect you from this. His voice cracked completely. This thing that's hunting you, it's bigger than me, it's older. It smells like pack law and blood justice, and I can't bite it into submission. Sterling's hand found hers, his fingers threading through hers like a promise. Alaska, 3 days. Whatever's in that envelope, we'll handle it there. You don't understand, Sterling. Then explain it to me. I can't. The conference room door opened again. Pete stuck his head in, grinning. Mom says if you're not at dinner in 20 minutes, she's coming here with baby photos, the naked ones. We'll be there, Sterling said, not looking away from Vesper. After Pete left, Cookie pressed his tiny face against Sterling's neck. I can't lose my person. Please help. If she doesn't listen to you, her wolf will listen to your wolf. Vesper turned on her heel, her body moving before her heart could stop it. I'll be at the signing for the merger, Sterling. Please send my apologies to your mother about dinner. She was 3 steps toward the door when she heard the scramble. Cookie sliding down Sterling's shoulder, hitting his pants. Tiny claws scratching on marble as he ran across the floor. He climbed up her dress like his life depended on it, arrived on her shoulder, puffing like he'd run a marathon. This is my exercise for the next 10 years, he gasped between tiny pants. If you even think about leaving me behind again, I will tell the world about your matching banana pajamas. The ones with the dancing bananas. The ones you wear when you're sad. Despite everything, The death sentence in her bag heavy as a stone, the countdown ticking in her skull like a bomb, the goodbye burning her throat like swallowed glass. She laughed. It came out cracked and wrong, like something breaking, but it was real. "Those pajamas are a secret," she whispered, her voice barely holding together. "Nothing's a secret from me," Cookie whispered back, his tiny paw pressing against her neck where her pulse hammered. "I can smell love, Vesper. Love from your wolf, of course. Because if I said it's from you, you'd deny it." His whiskers drooped, and when he spoke again, his voice was smaller, more vulnerable than she'd ever heard it. "I know my poetry is bad. I know everyone laughs. But my nose is the best. When I smell love, it's love with capital letters, exclamation points, the whole thing. Real love smells like home and terror and wanting to stay even when you should run. And you don't do that to those you love. You don't walk away when they're standing there smelling like their heart is breaking for you. In my case, that's exactly what I should do. Walking away." Her voice caught on the words. "That's best for those I love. Sterling isn't the biggest problem." The words came out sharp, final. She could feel Cookie's tiny body go rigid with surprise. "And you don't know everything about my life, Cookie." The confession hung between them like a blade. In 5 years, 4 months, and 18 days, she'd never admitted to keeping secrets from him. Cookie's nose twitched frantically, trying to parse what she wasn't saying, but even his enhanced senses couldn't smell the shape of a 15-year-old ghost. "Vesper." His voice was tiny, hurt. "What don't I know? Things that would get you killed if you did." She kept walking, each step echoing in the empty hallway. Some secrets aren't mine to tell. Some secrets burn everyone who touches them. Behind them, she could still feel Sterling in the conference room, his wolf raging against his skin. The mate bond that wasn't quite formed yet pulled at her like a fishhook in her chest, but she kept walking. Chapter 5. The knock came at 9 p.m., 3 soft raps that made Vesper's wolf stir beneath her skin like silk, sliding over glass. She knew who it was before Cookie even lifted his nose from his poetry notebook. She set her red wine glass down on the coffee table, the crystal singing against mahogany, but didn't move toward the door. Her heart was already betraying her, hammering against her ribs like it was trying to escape toward him. "Sterling's here," Cookie announced, his whiskers twitching with barely contained excitement. "He smells like determination and expensive cologne, and oh, he brought food, Thai food, your favorite Thai food from that place downtown that doesn't deliver." "Did you betray me? Giving him that info, Cookie?" Cookie pressed a tiny paw to his chest, the picture of wounded dignity. "You hurt my feelings, Vesper. He didn't need my talent for such trivial background research. Anyone who could fish that info out of an assistant who'd do whatever it takes to make the boss happy wouldn't deserve a date." "We don't have a date, Cookie. I told you what's at stake." Cookie raised his arms in surrender. "All right, no need to argue, Vesper. I didn't bring him here. Just ask him how he got the info. But might want to consider opening the door and talking to him like human adults, rather than shouting through 5 inches of Brazilian rosewood." Another knock, firmer this time. The sound reverberated through her chest. "Vesper?" Sterling's voice carried through the door, muffled but clear, sending warmth pooling in her stomach. "I know you're in there." Cookie's reciting poetry loud enough to wake the dead. "I'm workshopping!" Cookie shouted indignantly. "Art takes time. I would have opened the door for you if Vesper wasn't sitting on the remote control." Vesper glared at him, but her finger was already moving to the button. Cookie shrugged, unrepentant. The door opened just enough to let Sterling in, then whispered shut behind him with a soft click that sounded like fate sealing. Sterling stood in her living room looking unfairly gorgeous. Dark jeans that hugged his legs, a charcoal sweater that made his eyes look like storm clouds gathering over water. He held a bag from Bangkok Garden in one hand, the plastic crinkling softly, and a bottle of wine in the other. The restaurant's logo caught the light, and she could smell the tang of tamarind and lemongrass already escaping the containers. 5 minutes, he said before she could speak, his voice low and rough like he'd been rehearsing this. "Just give me 5 minutes." "You can't eat all that food in 5 minutes," Cookie piped up. "That's pad thai, spring rolls, green curry, mango sticky rice, and is that a 2019 Malbec from Mendoza? That's her favorite vintage." Sterling's lips quirked, and something in Vesper's chest fluttered dangerously. He moved into her kitchen like he belonged there, his presence filling the space, making her apartment feel smaller and warmer simultaneously. The wine bottle made a soft thunk against her granite counter. "How do you know where I keep my glasses?" she asked as he reached directly for the correct cabinet. "Same place everyone keeps them. Upper cabinet left of the sink." He uncorked the wine with practiced ease, the cork releasing with a soft pop that made her mouth water. "Also, Cookie told me during the merger meeting, he was very specific about your kitchen organization." "Cookie?" "What? He asked nicely, and he promised to listen to my poem about kitchen appliances." Sterling poured the wine, the liquid catching the light like liquid garnets, like captured sunset. He handed her a glass, and when their fingers brushed, electricity shot up her arm and straight to her heart. His skin was warm, calloused just slightly from whatever rich boys did to stay fit. Probably expensive gym equipment, but it felt real against hers. "To complicated situations," he said, raising his glass. The crystal caught the light, sending prisms across his face. "To 5 minutes," she countered, though she already knew she'd give him forever if he asked. They drank, the wine rich and dark on her tongue, tasting of blackberries and smoke and dangerous decisions. Sterling unpacked the food with careful precision, arranging it on her coffee table like an offering. The smell of lemongrass and coconut milk wrapped around them, intimate as an embrace. "You know," Sterling said, settling on her couch where she sat alone every night with his wine, "I realized something today. We went to Harvard Business at the same time. The wine nearly went down wrong." "What?" "You were class of 2017, right? I was 2014. We were there for one overlapping year." His smile did dangerous things to her composure, crinkling the corners of his eyes. "You were the girl who argued with Professor Hendricks about ethical capitalism." The memory hit her like a physical touch. "You remember that?" Everyone remembered that. "You made him so mad he assigned extra reading for a month." Sterling's eyes warmed with genuine amusement, gold flecks appearing in the gray. "I was the TA for that class." The memory crystallized, a gorgeous TA with storm gray eyes who'd stayed after class to help her with a particularly brutal case study, who'd smelled like coffee and ambition and something wild underneath. "That was you? You had longer hair then." "My unfortunate hipster phase," he admitted, running a hand through his now perfectly styled hair. The gesture was boyish, charming. "You wore glasses then. And you always sat in the 3rd row, left side, by the window where the morning light came in." "You noticed where I sat?" Her voice came out breathier than intended. Cookie made a sound of pure delight from his perch on the armchair. "He's been interested since business school. This is like a romance novel. A very slow, very frustrating romance novel where nobody makes good choices." "Cookie, don't you have poetry to write?" Vesper said, her face heating. "Fine, but I'm listening. This is research for my epic love poem." He scampered to his tiny desk in the corner, but his ears swiveled toward them like tiny satellites. Sterling shifted closer on the couch, and her whole body became aware of him. The heat radiating from his skin, his scent of pine after rain and something essentially sterling. "You disappeared after graduation. I looked for you at the alumni events." The words hung between them, heavy with missed chances. "I had to leave Boston quickly." She took another sip of wine to avoid his eyes. "Family emergency. Your family," he said carefully, like he was walking through a minefield. "The one you don't want to talk about. The one I don't have anymore." The words came out sharp as broken glass. Sterling's hand found hers on the couch between them, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It was a long time ago." But her fingers curled around his anyway, fitting perfectly like they were made to hold each other. They ate in comfortable silence for a moment, the pad thai perfectly spiced with just enough heat to make her lips tingle, the spring rolls crispy and hot enough to burn her tongue pleasantly. He'd ordered everything exactly how she liked it, extra lime that made her mouth water, light on the peanuts, additional sauce on the side in little containers. "This is creepy levels of research," she said, gesturing at the food with her chopsticks. "I prefer thorough." His grin was boyish, devastating. "I also know about the banana pajamas." Her entire body flushed hot. "How, Mom asked your assistant about gift ideas. Apparently you have quite the collection. Dancing bananas, banana splits, bananas in costumes." His voice dropped, teasing, intimate. "Bananas doing yoga." "Those are for meditation," she protested, her face burning like she'd been caught in something far more intimate than sleepwear preferences. "Of course they are." His eyes danced with suppressed laughter. "Very meditative, very professional CEO," says the man who irons his socks. "Mom told you that?" Cookie smelled the starch. They looked at each other for a heartbeat, then burst out laughing simultaneously. The sound filled her apartment with warmth and light, chasing away shadows she'd lived with so long she'd forgotten they were there. "We're ridiculous," Sterling said, still chuckling, wiping his eyes. "Completely," she agreed, her stomach aching from laughing. The laughter faded slowly like sunset, leaving something heavier, more dangerous in its wake. Sterling's thumb traced circles on her hand, each touch sending sparks through her nervous system. Her wolf pressed against her skin, desperate for closer, always closer. "I respect your privacy, Vesper. You don't want me to know about your past. I won't make it my business." His eyes turned serious, the gray darkening like storm clouds. "But if someone hurts you, even if that someone is from your family, your pack, I will make that my business." "It's a dangerous business." Her voice came out whisper soft. "Danger is my middle name." "Why, Sterling? You can have anyone you want." "I've told you." His voice dropped to that register that made her insides melt. "There is only one person who tackles me in banana pajamas over candy for a hamster." She bubble laughed, the sound escaping without permission. His eyes grew serious, intense in a way that made her forget how to breathe. "If nothing here can keep you, if Paxton business, the merger, everything you built here can't keep you, I'll let you go. But promise you'll stay safe." "I'll be fine. Cookie overdramatizes things, the trait of a poet." "I heard that." Cookie's voice came muffled from somewhere in the closet. Sterling smiled, and her heart forgot its rhythm entirely, stumbling over itself. "Maybe we just relent tonight." His gray eyes met hers, full of something that made her chest ache with want. "Tonight, can we just be two people who went to the same business school and argue about ethical capitalism over Thai food?" The wine was making her warm and liquid, or maybe that was his proximity, the way his thigh pressed against hers on the couch. "I never actually believed in ethical capitalism." "I know. You believed in making beautiful things that help people feel powerful." His smile turned soft, intimate. "You still do. You researched that too?" He chuckled, the sound rumbling through where their bodies touched. "Your company mission statement, beauty is power and power should belong to everyone." Very philosophical. Very empathetic for an alpha of the most powerful conglomerate in global logistics. They'd shifted closer somehow, the space between them disappearing like morning mist. His free hand came up to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers lingering against her cheek, the touch feather light but devastating to her composure. "Vesper," he said, her name a question and a prayer and a promise all at once. She should pull away, should maintain distance, should protect him from what was coming. Instead, she leaned in, drawn by gravity, by fate, by the simple need to know what he tasted like. Their lips met and the world stopped. He tasted like heaven and home and everything she couldn't have, like wine and possibility and the dangerous dream of belonging. His hand cupped her face with devastating gentleness, thumbs stroking her cheekbone as he kissed her like she was precious, like she was everything. Her wolf sang, recognizing its mate, And for one perfect moment, she let herself have this. His mouth moving against hers, his fingers tangling in her hair, the soft sound he made when she nipped his bottom lip. Then his movement slowed, his hand growing heavy against her face. Sterling blinked slowly, confusion clouding those beautiful eyes. "What?" She pressed her lips to his cheek, tasting salt. Her tears or his skin, she couldn't tell. "I'm sorry, Sterling. It's my sleeping potion. Not only do I have to leave, I can't let you stop me or interfere." Her voice broke. "If I can't bring you anything good in life, I will not bring danger to your doorstep." His eyes were already closing, his body going boneless against hers. She caught him, cradling his head as he slumped into her lap, her fingers automatically threading through his hair. But even as consciousness faded from his features, something else stirred. His wolf, she realized with growing horror. The sleeping draft worked on the human side, dulling his mind and muscles, but his wolf was still awake, looking at her through Sterling's half-closed eyes with desperate awareness. A low growl rumbled from his chest, not threatening, but pleading. His wolf trying to communicate what Sterling couldn't, begging her not to leave, not to run, not to break what was already forming between them. The sound shattered her heart into pieces too small to ever reassemble. Chapter 6. The tarmac of Bellingham's small airport shimmered with morning heat, making the single-prop plane waver like a mirage. Vesper's backpack dug into her shoulders, 15 years of running condensed into 20 pounds of necessities. No designer clothes, no perfume samples, no corporate documents, just survival gear and banana pajamas. Her throat burned with unshed tears. She'd left Cookie sleeping in his velvet bed, tiny paws twitching through hamster dreams. Left him a note he couldn't read and enough lollies to last a month. Left Sterling unconscious on her couch, his wolf whimpering for a mate who was already gone. Her mother's voice echoed with every step toward the plane. "Promise me you'll never go back. Not for revenge. Not for justice. Never." "Going somewhere, Princess?" Len materialized from behind a luggage cart, his forgettable face split by an unforgettable smile. 2 more hunters flanked him, their movements predator smooth. Vesper's hand found the pepper spray in her pocket. Useless against wolves, but the gesture steadied her. "The summons said I have 2 weeks. "That's if you stay put," Len said, stepping closer. His breath smelled like stale coffee and menace. "Running changes the terms. See, the formal summons was very specific. You report to Dragomir for trial or—" He shrugged, the gesture casual as discussing weather. "You forfeit the right to exist anywhere. You're a PI, not a hunter. You can't force me." "They just upgraded my services." He pulled out a document, the Dragomir seal bloody red in the morning light. A summoned wolf who flees rather than faces justice becomes pack property. Dead or alive, dealer's choice. Vesper calculated distances to the plane, which was starting to call for boarding. 1 block to the gate, 3 wolves between her and temporary freedom. Her backpack suddenly convulsed. Grimp! Banana assassination! Something small and furious erupted from her pack like a hamster volcano. Cookie burst through the zipper, pajama fabric clinging to his whiskers, gasping dramatically. Death by sleepwear, suffocation by fruit fashion. He sucked in air with theatrical desperation. "Do you have any idea what it's like being buried alive in banana print cotton? It's like dying in a smoothie commercial." "Cookie," Vesper's voice cracked. "What are you— How did I know you were leaving?" Cookie scrambled up to her shoulder, pajama threads still tangled in his claws. "Oh, I don't know, maybe because you hugged me 17 times yesterday? You only hug me that much when you think you're dying, or when you're about to do something monumentally stupid, which, let's face it, is basically the same thing with you when you're in love." "I'm not in love." "Tell that to the sleeping alpha on your couch." Len stared at the hamster. "Is that thing talking?" Cookie went rigid with indignation. "Thing? Thing?" His voice climbed octaves. "I'm a published poet with 3 followers on my theoretical blog." Cookie, you have to leave, Vesper whispered urgently. This is dangerous. Oh, now you're worried about danger. Cookie's whiskers quivered with fury. Where was this concern when you left me with a note that said, be good? Be good? What am I, a golden retriever? I don't do good. I do morally complex with a side of justified revenge. One of the hunters stepped forward, cracking his knuckles. Enough games. Come with us, or... Cookie whipped around to face him. Or what exactly? You'll hunt us? Groundbreaking threat, truly. No one's ever threatened to hunt werewolves before. You should patent that. Very original. The hunter's face darkened. How about I just eat the hamster? How about you try? Cookie bared his tiny teeth. I'm medically enhanced, emotionally unhinged, and I've been awake for 36 hours straight on nothing but moonburst lollies and rage. I will bite you in places you didn't know you had nerve endings. Is it supposed to be threatening? The second hunter asked Len. I can hear you, Cookie snapped. And yes, I'm threatening. I once made a Fortune 500 CEO require therapy. Therapy from a hamster encounter. Len rubbed his temples. Just grab them both. Wait! Cookie shrieked, pointing behind them. Is that a wolfsbane storm with silver dust? Everyone turned. The tarmac was empty. Psyche! Basic misdirection, Cookie screamed. Run, Vesper, run like your banana pajamas are on fire. She bolted. Her sneakers slapped against hot asphalt as she sprinted toward the chain-link fence separating the tarmac from the parking lot. Cookie clung to her shoulder, providing commentary nobody asked for. She's running. Look at that form, those legs pumping. That's what happens when you wear sensible shoes instead of stilettos. Stop, don't make me hurt you, princess, Len shouted. He's using his Dom voice, Cookie shouted. Too bad we're not into that. Consent is sexy, Len. Read a book. Read several books. Start with Boundaries for Dummies. They hit the fence. Vesper grabbed the chain link, starting to climb. Behind them, footsteps pounded closer. We're climbing, Cookie announced. This is very action movie. Very Die Hard, parts 1 and 2 combined. Cookie, please shut up. I panic narrate, very common in enhanced hamsters and arts professors. Vesper threw herself over the fence top, landing hard on the other side. Her ankle twisted, sending fire up her leg. Injury sustained, Cookie assessed, his nose twitching frantically. Pain level approximately 6.3, but you're running on adrenaline and poor life choices, so we're still mobile. The hunters hit the fence, climbing faster than any human could. They're gaining! Cookie's voice went ultrasonic. This is bad. This is very bad. This is cancel my poetry reading bad. Vesper limped toward the parking lot, scanning desperately for... there. A motorcycle, engine running, helmet hanging from the handlebars. The owner was inside the terminal, probably getting coffee, blissfully unaware they were about to become part of a police report. We're stealing someone's bike, she panted, throwing herself onto the seat. Borrowing, Cookie corrected, scrambling into the helmet. We're borrowing. There's a semantic difference that matters in court. We'll return this vehicle at the destination if we're both alive. When did you last ride a two-wheeled vehicle, Vesper? Before your time. In that Cambodia trip, those were scooters, not a real motorbike. Same principles. Learning opportunity, Cookie screamed as they rocketed toward the exit. Experiential education, very hands-on, very likely to end in death. The bike roared onto the access road, wobbling dangerously. In the mirror, she could see Len and his hunters piling into a black SUV. They're following! Cookie's voice was muffled by the helmet. Also, I should mention, Sterling's probably awake by now, and he's going to be really, really mad about the sleep potion. Like, write a strongly worded email mad. Maybe even cancel the merger mad. Not helping, Cookie. I'm just saying you drugged an alpha. That's like poking a bear while it's eating, and the bear has lawyers. She yanked the handlebars right, tires screaming. The bike tilted at an impossible angle before righting itself. Physics, Cookie yelled. Angular momentum, centripetal force. Other words I learned from YouTube but don't fully understand. The SUV roared behind them, gaining ground. Cookie, I need options. Options are limited. Shopping mall. 12 o'clock. The mall entrance loomed ahead. Vesper didn't think. She gunned it straight through the automatic doors. Glass exploded around them. Shoppers dove for cover. The bike roared through the food court, scattering tables and orange Julius. Property damage, Cookie announced gleefully. So much property damage. This is definitely a felony. Multiple felonies. We're collecting crimes like Pokemon cards. They burst out the other side, leaving chaos and confused security guards in their wake. The SUV had to go around, buying them precious seconds. Vesper parked the bike where it could be found and returned to the owner, then kept running on foot. "Cookie," Vesper panted. "Why did you come? You could have been safe." "Safe?" Cookie's voice broke, all the manic humor draining away. "You think I want to be safe without you? You saved me from that lab, Vesper. You lost everything for me. Your job, your reputation, your normal life. And you think I'd let you run off alone? I was trying to protect you." "I don't need protection." His tiny paws gripped her collar, and she could feel him trembling. "I need my person. You're my person. My terrible poetry-listening, banana pajama-wearing, questionable decision-making person. And if you're going to die stupidly, then I'm going to die stupidly right next to you. That's what family does." Sirens wailed in the distance. Multiple sirens, getting closer. "Also," Cookie added, nose twitching as he processed the air, "I should probably mention that Sterling's about 10 minutes out with his entire pack, and he is absolutely furious about the drugging, like his wolf is apparently saying things that would make sailors blush." "What? How could he possibly—" Cookie avoided her eyes. "I may have left him a note." "Cookie. With GPS coordinates." "Cookie." "And a detailed map with illustrations. I drew little hearts around important locations. I'm a visual communicator. You betrayed me. I saved you from yourself." Cookie shot back. "You two are clearly soulmates. Do you know how exhausting it is watching you pine for the last 48 hours? It's like living in a Tay-Tay album. The sad ones, before she discovered revenge songs." Footsteps at the alley mouth. Len appeared, breathing hard, his face flushed with exertion and annoyance. "End of the line, princess." Cookie stood tall on Vesper's shoulder, all 3 inches of righteous indignation. Actually, according to Zeno's paradox, we can never truly reach the end of anything because we'd have to traverse infinite halfway points first. Len blinked. "What?" "Philosophy. It's called education. Look it up. Or don't. You seem committed to the whole thinking is hard lifestyle." Len stepped forward and froze as a familiar growl rumbled through the alley like thunder. Sterling emerged from the shadows, his wolf rippling just beneath his skin. Behind him, Pete, Catherine, even Rose with her cane clicking against the pavement. "Hello, Len." Sterling's voice was conversational, but his eyes promised violence. "I believe you're harassing my mate." "She's not your mate in my territory." "Oh, but she is." Sterling cut him off, his eyes never leaving Vesper's. "She wears my mark. She's mine, and I'm hers, and that's really all that matters here." "I can't see the mark. If she shows you where I marked her, then I'll have to kill you. Are you up for that?" Sterling's smile was all teeth. "She's been summoned by the Dragomir pack," Len tried again, pulling out his documents. "Ancient law. Actually," Rose spoke up, leaning on her cane with deceptive frailty, "I had the most interesting conversation with Mikhail Dragomir yesterday. Lovely boy, bit intense but good manners. He's very curious about unauthorized hunters using his father's seal. Apparently that's treason in the Dragomir pack. Punishable by, what was it? Oh yes, creative dismemberment." Len went pale. "I'm paid by the Dragomir pack to do this." Rose smiled sweetly. "We don't get involved with other packs' internal affairs. Why don't you go back and ask them? But for now, it's advisable to leave our territory voluntarily while you can. My favorite grandson has a temper, and when it flares, nobody can stop him." She pointed her chin at Sterling. Without further argument, Len and his hunters vanished like smoke and wind. Sterling stepped toward Vesper. "You drugged me," he said quietly. You were being protective, she countered, chin lifting despite her terror. Sterling was close enough now that Vesper could feel his heat, smell his wolf's fury and hurt and desperate need all tangled together like a storm. My wolf woke up alone, he said, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. On your couch, surrounded by your scent, but empty. For 30 seconds until it found Cookie's note, my wolf thought you were dead. Do you know what that felt like? Sterling, it felt like dying, he said simply. Like someone had reached into my chest and torn everything important out. Don't ever do that again. She looked into his stormy gray eyes, and all she could see were genuine emotions. No corporate pretense, no pack politics, nothing but Sterling himself and his raw love. That was a nice bluff, Sterling. You haven't marked me. He smiled softly. I did. He touched her chest gently. Here. You think my wolf didn't know your wolf approved of me and reached out? You think my wolf didn't feel the soul link the moment you crash-tackled me in public? Cookie made a sound somewhere between a squeak and a sob. This is beautiful. I need to write this down. Someone give me paper. Pete, give me your shirt. I'll write on your shirt. Use your blog, Pete suggested, grinning. I don't actually have a blog. The blog is a metaphor. For what? Catherine asked, fascinated. I don't know. I just have to use metaphors. I'm a poet. Despite everything, the danger, the running, the complete disaster of her life, Vesper laughed. It started as a giggle and turned into something hysterical, tears streaming down her face as she laughed and cried simultaneously. Sterling pulled her against him, and she let herself collapse into his warmth, let herself be held for the first time in 15 years. I'm sorry, she whispered against his chest. I'm so sorry. I couldn't let them hurt you. I couldn't be the reason. Shh, he murmured into her hair. We'll figure it out. Together. Even if it means facing the entire Dragomir pack. Even if it means war, we'll figure it out. Cookie sighed dramatically from her shoulder. Finally. Vesper. A deep, powerful voice came from behind them. They all turned. Holy mocha and Swiss cheese, Cookie muttered. Mikhail Dragomir stood there, powerful, devastatingly handsome, smiling at her. I've been looking for you for 15 years. I never believed it when people said you were dead. You've turned into a magnificent woman, Vesper, my princess. Mikhail Dragomir, her childhood sweetheart, now the alpha of the Dragomir pack. Chapter 7. There's a traitor in your pack. Vesper's words cut through the alley's tension like a blade through silk. Sterling's arm was still around her waist, protective and possessive, while Mikhail stood 3 feet away, his presence commanding despite the casual stance. Mikhail's smile didn't waver, but something shifted in his amber eyes, a flicker of the boy she'd known, quickly masked. It's nice to see you again, Vesper. I'm serious. She pulled away from Sterling, needing space to think clearly. The morning air bit at her skin, carrying the scent of rain and disaster. The summons. Real pack law doesn't work like this. Someone with significant power authorized those hunters. Someone who knew exactly what buttons to push. I control my pack. Mikhail's voice carried alpha authority, the kind that made normal wolves submit instantly. Rose's cane clicked against the pavement as she stepped forward, her ancient eyes studying Mikhail with grandmother-knowing best energy. You're young. How long have you been alpha? 3 years? 4? 5. Mikhail's jaw tightened. 5 years trying to reform a traditional pack. 5 years of looking for her. Rose gestured at Vesper with her cane. The whole supernatural world knows you've been hunting for your lost childhood friend. That's not a secret, that's a weakness, and someone just weaponized it. No one would dare. Someone did dare. Vesper's hands clenched, remembering Len's casual cruelty. Think about it, why now? Why send hunters after 15 years? What's happening in your pack right now that made this the perfect time? Mikhail's phone buzzed. He ignored it. It buzzed again, then again. A call this time. Answer it, Sterling said quietly. His wolf was coiled beneath his skin, ready for violence. Mikhail's face went pale as he listened to whoever was on the other end. His knuckles whitened around the phone until Vesper thought it might shatter. Beta Marcus called an emergency council. His voice came out rough, scraped raw. Claims I violated PAC law by allocating resources to search for a traitor's daughter. They're voting to remove me as alpha. Cookie made a sound like a tea kettle boiling over. Betrayal! I smell betrayal all over that phone call. Also fear. Your friend is terrified. They're probably holding a knife to his throat. Metaphorically. Maybe literally. I have to go back. Mikhail was already moving toward the street, pulling out his phone to arrange transport. That's exactly what they want. Vesper grabbed his arm, her fingers barely spanning his bicep. You go back alone, you're dead. They used me and my family's tragedy to lure you here, away from your support base. It's my pack. It's a trap, Sterling interrupted, his voice cutting through Mikhail's protest. You walk in there alone. How many wolves stand with you? Your betas had days to poison them against you while you've been gone. You need witnesses, neutral parties. I don't need Paxton help. You need our corporate expertise. Vesper pulled out her phone, already scrolling through contacts. You said Beta Marcus has evidence of you violating PAC law? Documents? Financial records? Mikhail nodded reluctantly. That's our specialty. Forensic accounting, document analysis. She looked at Sterling. How fast can you charter a plane? Sterling was already dialing. 20 minutes to the airport. We'll be airborne in 30. I don't need. Yes, you do. Rose's voice carried the weight of centuries. Pride gets alphas killed, boy. Your beta didn't just wake up yesterday and decide to stage a coup. This has been planned, meticulously. Pete appeared with car keys jangling. Cars are here. Mom's packing medical supplies because she assumes someone's getting bitten. She's usually right. The ride to the airport blurred past in a haze of strategic planning and Cookie's increasingly agitated emotional commentary. Sterling smells like protective rage, Cookie announced from his perch on the dashboard. Mikhail smells like guilt and old sadness. Vesper smells like she's about to do something stupidly heroic. Pete smells like he stopped for donuts. Again, not relevant, but I'm stress reporting everything. The private jet waited on the tarmac, engines already warming. They boarded in tense silence, the weight of what they were flying into settling over them like a shroud. 2 hours to Dragomir territory. 2 hours to figure out how to stop a coup. Vesper found herself seated between the two alphas, their territorial tension making the air thick enough to chew. Cookie had relocated to her shoulder, his tiny body vibrating with anxiety. Tell me about Beta Marcus, she said to Mikhail. He's been with the pack for 40 years, served my father loyally. Mikhail's hands clenched on the armrests. Or so I thought. He smells like lies when you say that, Cookie whispered. Old lies, buried deep. Sterling leaned forward. Who benefited from your father's death? I did. I became alpha. Who else? Mikhail's brow furrowed. Marcus became beta. But he was already... He stopped, understanding dawning in his eyes. He was already high-ranking. But with my father gone and me young and inexperienced, he became the power behind the throne, Vesper finished. Until you started looking for me, started questioning the old stories about my family. The plane began its descent. Through the window, Vesper could see the Dragomir compound, a sprawling estate surrounded by forest, beautiful and foreboding. They could hear the howling before they even landed. The compound's great hall thrummed with barely leashed violence. 200 wolves packed the space, their eyes reflecting the firelight like stars. At the center, Beta Marcus stood behind a table covered in documents, his silver hair gleaming with righteousness. The prodigal alpha returns, Marcus announced as they entered, with outsiders no less. Have you no respect for PAC law? I have respect for truth. Mikhail's voice carried, despite the crowd's murmuring, which is why I brought forensic experts to examine your so-called evidence. And Vesper is not an outsider. His voice cracked like a whip. She's Vesper Dragomir, daughter of Victor Dragomir. The hall erupted, wolves shifting partially, claws extending, eyes flashing amber in the firelight. "The traitor's daughter," Marcus snarled, his lip curling to reveal lengthening canines. "If you've done nothing wrong, why the suppressant? Why hide your origin behind chemicals?" Vesper's chin lifted, her spine straightening despite the hostile energy pressing against her from all sides. "That's what you do when you're being hunted to kill. But we're not here to discuss the past. Though that conversation will come." Her eyes swept the crowd, finding familiar faces aged by 15 years. "We bring proof that the evidence against Mikhail isn't legitimate." "You dare!" Marcus's growl rumbled through the floor. "Order!" An elderly voice cut through the chaos. "Let her speak." Vesper's breath caught. Elder Thorn, her father's chess partner, his beard now completely white but those keen eyes unchanged. He'd taught her the Sicilian defense when she was 7. She picked up the first document, the paper crackling in the tense silence. Her fingers trembled slightly, but her voice stayed steady. "This financial record, it's falsified. The timestamp data doesn't match the server logs. This signature," she held it up to the light, "it's digital, but the metadata shows it was created yesterday, not 5 years ago." Sterling joined her, his presence solid at her back. This entire stack was manufactured. Recently, someone with administrative access created false records to implicate Mikhail. "Lies!" Marcus roared, spittle flying. "I have PAC members as witnesses. My support base exceeds his. They wouldn't stand by me if they trusted you, Mikhail." His eyes swept the assembled wolves. "Choose now. Step right if you stand with me. Left for Mikhail." The sound of shuffling feet filled the hall as bodies moved. The crowd split almost evenly, the division running through families, through friends. The air grew thick with the scent of confusion and fear. Vesper caught Mikhail's eye. "The council votes?" He shook his head minutely, jaw tight. Sterling's voice dropped low, meant only for them. "My pack's 5 minutes out if this goes south. You'll have the manpower. But using outsiders forfeits your alpha rights. By traditional law," Vesper finished. She turned to the council, her voice carrying clear and strong. "I stand with Mikhail. My family stands with him." She paused, letting that sink in. "During my years in exile, I built a business in exotic cosmetics." Elder Thorn frowned. "Cosmetics?" A small smile played at her lips. "Scents specifically, perfumes, potions. I have experts who help me detect and analyze chemical compounds." "Expert incoming!" Cookie's shriek pierced the air as he raced across the floor, his tiny legs pumping. "Move! Scientific breakthrough approaching!" He scrambled up her leg like his tail was on fire, tiny claws pricking through her jeans before landing on her shoulder, panting dramatically. "What took you so long?" she murmured. "Do you know how many rooms this place has?" Cookie gasped. "It's like a maze designed by someone who hates hamsters. Also, I found what we need. Also, I may have stress-eaten 3 lollies. Also, Marcus's room smells like betrayal and foot powder." Vesper addressed the stunned crowd. "This is my expert, and yes, he speaks." 5 languages, Cookie puffed up proudly. 6 if you count sarcasm. He traced Marcus's scent back to his quarters. Vesper pulled a vial from Cookie's tiny satchel. "Where we found this, Lupus Imperium, a compliance potion, rare, expensive, and the ingredients are so limited they can be traced to the original purchaser." A young wolf in Marcus's group shifted nervously. "If you're suggesting he drugged us to follow him, how would that even work?" "Airborne dispersal," Vesper explained. "It bonds to moisture in the air, invisible, odorless to wolves." The crowd stirred, memory clicking into place. Someone gasped. "The winter solstice gathering. Marcus insisted we play pack bonding games indoors for 15 minutes. Said it was tradition, but it made no sense. Raise your hand if you attended that gathering," Elder Thorn commanded. Every wolf on Marcus's side raised their hand. Not a single one from Mikhail's supporters. "This should paint a clear picture," Vesper began. Marcus shifted mid-leap, his massive gray wolf form launching at Mikhail with murderous intent. But something was wrong. His muscles bulged unnaturally, his eyes glowed with chemical enhancement. The scent of dark magic rolled off him in waves. Mikhail shifted to meet him, but Vesper could see the imbalance immediately. Marcus had taken something, probably Ferrex Fortis, the strength enhancer that burned through a wolf's system like acid, but granted temporary invincibility. Heat exploded through Vesper's veins like liquid lightning. Her bones cracked and reformed in a symphony of pain and power. 15 years of suppression shattered in an instant as her wolf erupted free. She landed between them, massive for a female, her coat pure white like fresh mountain snow, shimmering with an ethereal light that made wolves stumble back. Her eyes blazed violet, the unmistakable mark of the royal bloodline everyone thought extinct. Marcus skidded to a stop, his enhanced strength meaningless in the face of what stood before him. Not just an alpha, but something older, rarer. The last moon-blessed wolf. The fight was brutal, but brief. Where Marcus relied on artificial strength, Vesper moved like water, like wind, like moonlight given form. She and Mikhail fought in perfect synchronization, their childhood play fights translating to lethal adult precision. When Marcus lunged left, she was already there. When he tried to flank Mikhail, her teeth found his haunch. Marcus went down hard, Vesper's jaws at his throat. She didn't break skin, but the threat was clear. One twitch and his life would paint the floor red. "Shift," Mikhail commanded. Marcus returned to human form, bloodied and defeated, the enhancement drugs already taking their toll. His skin had a grayish tinge, veins standing out like dark rivers. "Kill him," someone shouted from the crowd. "Pack law demands," I ask for pardon. Vesper's voice rang clear despite having just shifted back. She stood naked and unashamed, every inch the alpha princess she'd been born to be. Sterling's jacket appeared around her shoulders. He'd moved too fast for normal eyes to track, his hand lingering for just a moment on her arm. My mother's dying wish was to break the cycle of vengeance. Her voice cracked slightly. "Killing him won't bring my family back. I ask only for the truth to be known, for my family's name to be cleared, for any surviving members to be welcomed home if they choose." Mikhail studied her for a long moment, something deep and old passing between them. "Granted. Beta Marcus, you're exiled. Leave, now. Don't come back." Marcus fled, several of his supporters trailing after him like shadows abandoning the light. The ceremony that followed felt like a dream wrapped in smoke. Ancient words in the old tongue washed over her as the pack welcomed her home. Their howls echoed off the mountains, a song of return and recognition. Vesper stood beside Mikhail as her birthright was restored, the weight of it settling on her shoulders like a mantle made of moonlight and memory. When the formal words ended and the crowd began to disperse, Mikhail turned to her. His hand extended, palm up, an offering, not a demand. "Rule beside me," he said simply. "Equal alphas. The pack needs your strength, your wisdom. I need—" He paused, vulnerability flickering across his features. "I need my friend back." The offer hung between them, generous and genuine, but when Vesper turned to find Sterling's storm-gray eyes, to see Cookie's tiny approving nod, she found only empty space. The spot where the Paxton pack had stood was vacant, as if they'd been nothing but shadows dissolved by candlelight. Her wolf howled inside her chest, recognizing the absence like a missing limb. The scent of pine and winter storms was already fading. Sterling's warmth nothing but a ghost on the jacket around her shoulders. Cookie was gone too, no dramatic goodbye, no terrible poetry about partings. Just absence where her tiny guardian should have been. Her heart cracked down the middle, a clean break that left her breathless. She'd reclaimed her past, cleared her family's name, found her pack, and lost the only two beings who'd made her feel whole in 15 years of running. The hall still buzzed with celebration, but all Vesper could hear was the echo of what wasn't there, No tiny voice making inappropriate observations, no steady presence at her back promising without words that she'd never be alone again. She'd won everything and lost everything in the span of a single night. Chapter 8. Sterling stood in Vesper's empty apartment, holding banana pajamas like they were holy relics. The fabric was soft between his fingers, worn from countless nights of solitary comfort. Dancing bananas grinned up at him in ridiculous yellow glory, and his chest ached with something too big for his ribs to contain. The apartment still smelled like her, gardenias and that underlying sweetness his wolf recognized as purely Vesper. Everything else was gone. The merger documents from the coffee table, her collection of perfume samples, even the wine glasses they'd shared 3 nights ago when he'd kissed her and tasted forever before she drugged him unconscious. "You're pathetic," Cookie announced from his shoulder, not for the first time. "Standing here sniffing pajamas like some kind of fruit-obsessed stalker. This is a new low, even for you." "I'm not sniffing them." "You literally just inhaled for 7 seconds straight." I counted. "That's not breathing, that's huffing banana pajamas like they're aromatherapy." Cookie's whiskers twitched with disgust. "You know what your problem is?" "You're about to tell me regardless." "Your problem," Cookie continued, warming to his theme, "is that you have the emotional intelligence of a brick. A very expensive, well-dressed brick, but still a brick." Sterling folded the pajamas carefully, the gesture automatic. His hands needed something to do besides reach for a woman who'd chosen her real pack, her real alpha, her childhood sweetheart who'd literally killed his own father to save her. "She chose to go back to Mikhail," Sterling said quietly. The words tasted like ash. "They have history, they're from the same pack, made for each other." Cookie went absolutely still on his shoulder, the kind of stillness that preceded either a heart attack or an explosion. "Made for each other?" His voice started low, dangerous. "Made for each other? The explosion then. You absolute walnut, you complete buffoon, you emotionally constipated excuse for a carnivore." Cookie was standing now, tiny paws gesticulating wildly. "Made for each other? They played together as children. You know what that makes them? Friends. You know what you are? The man whose wolf recognized hers through industrial strength suppressant." "Cookie, no, you don't get to cookie me." The hamster was practically vibrating with fury. "Do you know what she said when she woke up next to Mikhail when they were 7? Ew, you drool. Do you know what she said when she woke up after drugging you? She cried for an hour. She wore my fur wet with tears." Sterling's wolf stirred, whining. "She went back to save his pack because that's who she is," Cookie continued, pacing across Sterling's shoulder like a tiny, furious general. "She saves everyone. She saved me from a lab. She saved you from a lifetime of boring merger meetings and appropriate relationships. She saved Mikhail from his own beta. She's a compulsive saver." She stood next to him at the ceremony because that's what you do at ceremonies. You stand places. It's not a marriage proposal, it's standing. Cookie grabbed Sterling's ear. "You know where she didn't stand? Next to him when he offered to share alpha status. You know what she did instead? She looked for you, but you'd already run away like someone set your tail on fire." "I was giving her space to what? To be miserable? Mission accomplished." Cookie's voice cracked. "She got in her car and drove for 3 hours to come back here. To you. But no, you had to go on your little self-pity field trip to sniff her pajamas." A sound behind them. Sterling turned and his world tilted off its axis. Vesper stood in the doorway wearing a designer leather jacket over banana pajama pants, the ones with the bananas doing yoga poses. Her feet were in Ugg boots. She was holding his jacket, the one he'd wrapped around her naked shoulders just hours ago. Her eyes were red-rimmed but fierce, and his wolf immediately threw itself against his chest, desperate to get to her. "You forgot something," she said, holding out his jacket. The words were casual. The delivery was not. Her voice shook slightly, and he could smell the salt of recent tears beneath her perfume. "So did you!" Cookie shrieked, launching himself off Sterling's shoulder like a tiny missile. He landed on Vesper's chest, clinging to her jacket. "Cookie." Her voice broke as she caught him, cradling him against her chest. "I thought you left me." "You thought wrong!" Cookie was crying now, tiny tears dampening his fur. "You're both terrible at thinking. You're thinking impaired. You need professional help with your thinking." Sterling hadn't moved, couldn't move. She was here, in banana pajamas, holding his jacket like an olive branch or a challenge or maybe both. "Why?" he asked, the word rough. She tilted her head. "Why what? Why come back? Mikhail offered you everything. Your pack, your birthright, your family's vindication." "He did?" She stepped into the apartment, the door closing softly behind her. "And you know what?" It felt like wearing a coat that used to fit, but doesn't anymore. Like trying to be 17 again when I'm not that girl anymore. She moved closer, and his wolf pressed harder against his control. "I'm not the girl who ran years ago. I'm not the princess he remembers. I'm the woman who tackles a CEO for hamster candy, who wears banana pajamas to board meetings. I still remember the look on your face when you tackled me." A small smile played at her lips. "I'm the woman who built a company from nothing, who drinks wine from specific vintages, who has a hamster for a best friend and business partner. Don't forget emotional support animal," Cookie added, still sniffling. "And style consultant. I told her the yoga bananas were a power move." She was close enough now that Sterling could feel her warmth, smell the combination of his jacket and her skin that made his wolf howl. "I'm the woman whose wolf chose you," she said softly. "Chose you over every survival instinct, over years of careful control, over common sense and safety and logic. My wolf knew you through industrial strength suppressant in a conference room while you were eating candy that wasn't yours." "It looked like regular candy," he defended. "It had a picture of a hamster on the wrapper." "I thought it was a mascot." Cookie made a disgusted sound. "This is who you chose? A man who can't identify hamster-specific medical supplies?" "Yes," Vesper said simply. "This is who I chose. The man who chartered a plane to help his girlfriend save her childhood friend, who brought his entire pack as backup, who gave me his jacket without being asked, who left because he thought I'd be happier without him." She reached up, her fingers barely grazing his jaw. "You were wrong, by the way, about me being happier." "Vesper, I drove 3 hours in banana pajama pants," she interrupted. "Do you know how many weird looks I got at the gas station? I did that for you. Well, and to return your jacket, but mostly for you." "The jacket's yours," he said, his voice rough. "Everything's yours. The jacket, my wolf, my entire family who won't stop asking where you are." Pete's composed 3 different guilt trip texts, but keeps deleting them. "What about you?" she asked. "Am I yours?" Instead of answering with words, Sterling did what he should have done in that conference room. In every moment since she'd crashed into his life, he kissed her. She tasted like coffee and tears and home. His hands tangled in her hair and hers fisted in his shirt, and somewhere around them, Cookie was providing unnecessary commentary. Finally, do you know how exhausting it's been watching you two pine? I've stress-composed 17 poems about yearning. They're all terrible. I blame you both." Sterling pulled back just enough to rest his forehead against hers. "No more running?" "No more running," she confirmed, "though I might occasionally tackle you, for old time's sake." "I can live with that. Also, I'm keeping the banana pajamas." "Obviously." "And Cookie's moving in." "Wait, what?" Cookie perked up. "I get a vote in this relationship? Because I have demands. Extensive demands. First, I need a poetry corner. Second, Sterling has to listen to at least 1 poem per day." "No poetry," Sterling and Vesper said in unison. "Fine, but I get the master bathroom. The acoustics are better for my creative process." Sterling looked at Vesper, her face still flushed from crying, wearing designer leather and banana pajamas, holding his jacket like she'd never let it go. His wolf had settled completely for the first time in his adult life, recognizing its mate, its home, its forever. "I love you," he said, the words simple and devastating. "I know," she replied. "Your wolf's been screaming it since you walked in here, very undignified, very un-CEO-like. Your wolf's been responding. Has it?" She smiled, that secret smile that made him want to tackle her into the nearest soft surface. "What's it been saying?" "Mine," he growled, pulling her closer. "It's been saying mine." "Possessive much?" But she was laughing and crying a little and kissing him again. "Excuse me!" Cookie shrieked. "Hello? Tiny traumatized hamster here. I need emotional processing time and lollies, and someone to appreciate my poetry about reunions." Vesper scooped him up without breaking the kiss, settling him on her shoulder where he belonged. "This is my life now," Cookie sighed dramatically. "Third wheel to wolves in love. I'm going to need so much therapy. Do they make therapy for hamsters? Is that covered by the merger medical plan?" But he was purring, or the hamster equivalent of purring, as he curled against Vesper's neck, finally home. Outside, the city hummed with its usual chaos. But inside the apartment that smelled like gardenias and pine, like banana pajamas and expensive cologne, like poetry nobody wanted to hear, and love nobody could deny, everything was exactly as it should be. "So," Sterling said against her lips, "about that merger. We can discuss it tomorrow," Vesper murmured. "After breakfast, in bed, wearing banana pajamas." "You're going to make me wear banana pajamas?" "Matching ones. Cookie already ordered them." "I got ones with bananas driving tiny cars," Cookie announced proudly. "They're magnificent." Sterling looked at his life, his mate in fruit-themed sleepwear, a medically enhanced hamster planning his wardrobe, a future that involved poetry readings and tacklings and probably so much chaos. His wolf had never been happier. "Fine," he said, kissing her again. "But I draw the line at banana underwear." "We'll see," Vesper and Cookie said in unison, and Sterling realized with perfect clarity that he'd already lost this battle. He couldn't wait to lose every other one, too. After all, some things, love, mates, hamsters with opinions, and yes, even banana pajamas, were worth surrendering for, even if the poetry about it would be terrible. And there you have it. Sometimes love arrives wearing banana pajamas and wielding hamster poetry. If you've made it this far, you've witnessed corporate espionage via hamster, a motorcycle chase through a mall, and probably more banana-themed fashion than you expected in a wolf-shifter romance. Cookie would be proud of your dedication to experiencing art, even if that art includes his 12-part epic about spreadsheets. Thank you for joining Sterling, Vesper, and Cookie on their chaotic journey to happily ever after. If you enjoyed their story, there's a bonus epilogue waiting for you. Link in the description below. Fair warning, it contains Cookie's wedding toast. It's exactly as dramatic as you'd expect. This story was created specifically for you, our amazing listeners who asked for paranormal romance with genuine emotion, unexpected humor, and animal sidekicks who steal the show. Your comments and suggestions literally shape what we create next. Speaking of which, what would you like to hear? A vampire barista who only works night shifts? A witch whose familiar is convinced it's a dragon? A bear shifter who accidentally hibernates through his own wedding? Drop your wildest ideas in the comments. DN Leo reads every single one, and your idea could become our next story. If Cookie convinced you that banana pajamas are indeed a valid life philosophy, please hit that like button. Subscribe for more original paranormal romances with heart, humor, and occasionally questionable fashion choices. And share this with someone who needs to believe in love, or at least needs to laugh at a hamster threatening an alpha with interpretive dance. Until next time, remember, love finds a way, even when it has to navigate corporate mergers, ancient pack law, and a tiny critic who rhymes heart with tart and calls it poetry. This has been The Sterling Howl and Banana Pajamas by DN Leo. Sweet dreams, and may all your pajamas be as confidence-boosting as Vespers.